This is the Soviet Union in 1945. Stalin has just won against Hitler in a devastating world war. Soldiers march happily without the threat of National Socialism again. Germany is divided. The Soviet people celebrate. National Socialist symbols are thrown to the feet of the General Secretary, Joseph Stalin. Now, let's rewind and see how Stalin took over. The year is 1924. The Soviet leader Vladimir Lenin has just passed away. Now, the highest official of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union is General Secretary of the Central Committee, Joseph Stalin. The Soviets mourn the death of Lenin. His body is preserved and is still up in Moscow. The Soviets are still recovering from a devastating civil war after overthrowing the Provisional Government of Russia in October 1917. And here you can see Mr. Stalin. Stalin is quick to take power. His enemies are either imprisoned, exiled, or just disappear out of nowhere. Stalin is now the dictator of the Soviet Union. Nothing can stop him anymore. This is exactly what Lenin did not want, as Lenin wanted to avoid making Stalin his successor. Many of Stalin's opponents are quickly executed, but the takeover is not exactly as quick as one would think. Many still competed with Stalin for takeover, and there were some mutual rulers with Stalin until the late 1920s. Stalin wants to erase all traces of the old Russia that have lingered. The Soviet state's official religion becomes atheism. Stalin wipes out churches. A new law is passed saying that religion is against the interests of the people. The old Russian Imperial Orthodox symbols are collected and destroyed across the country. Aside from religion, things are not going well. Several people are sent to concentration camps, raped, murdered, or something else. Stalin masks the truth perfectly from the unsuspecting public that knows nothing about what is happening on the deeper scale. Even some of Stalin's own comrades are betrayed, denounced, and executed for fabricated reasons. The concentration camps are full of laborers that are forced to work from sunrise to sunset. The conditions are horrible. Even women and children are sent here. The Soviet propaganda portrays Stalin as a hero of the entire Soviet Union. Communism lowers unemployment to zero. Everyone has a job without social classes. But as the 1930s approach, poverty is still extremely high in the Soviet Union, especially in the western regions such as Belarus and Ukraine. Even children are abandoned to the streets by their own parents, who either don't want them or cannot afford to raise them. The state does nothing to intervene. Queues to stores are massive. Whilst this is happening outside, Stalin plans to execute several people. And the worst is just about to come, and it is the Holodomor. Even more of Stalin's own associates get betrayed, accused of something, forced to confess, and then sentenced to death, which right now is the typical method of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Bryukhanov, once a close associate of Stalin, is now viewed as an incompetent failure by Stalin. Stalin writes the following:
For his past and present sins, hang Bryukhanov from the testicles. If they hold up, consider it acquitted by the court. If they give up, throw them in the river.
Stalin was only half joking. In 1930, Stalin invented a method to officially point out the culprits. A political trial. The defendants were scientists, engineers, senior officials. They were all enough competent. But they are accused of sabotaging the Soviet economy. Stalin himself is of course absent from the courtroom, but Andrei Vyshinsky, one of his loyal followers, is appointed judge. He told him to sentence everyone to death.
I declare the courtroom of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics to be fully open.
But for the trial to be credible in the public eye, the defendants must confess to have done what they are accused of. The defendants are tortured for several weeks and are left with no choice.
I completely acknowledge that I deserve the worst possible punishment.
For the prosecutor, the case is now a piece of cake.
The government convicts you guilty and requests that the defendants be shot.
After several days, the judge pronounced the verdict. The government sentences the defendants to death with the confiscation of their assets. But the sentence will be commuted to 10 years in prison. The message, however, is clear. Those who oppose Stalin will be crushed, as well as their loved ones, too. Stalin has now become brutal. His relationship with his eldest son became strained and cold. He recently attempted to commit suicide, but his father showed no compassion. Stalin's relationship too was not doing so well. His wife was frustrated with him. During an argument where Stalin insulted her, she got carried away and called Stalin an executioner who torments her, their son and the Soviet people, and that it is impossible to live with Stalin. After 14 years of being together, she commits suicide. The state's propaganda fabricates the reasoning of her death, but Stalin internally is fuming. Suicide in the Soviet Union was considered a treason. Her friends condemn it too. Stalin is angry at her for abandoning him like an enemy. Stalin claims that his wife now ruined his life. In the Soviet Union, nothing will ever be the same again. Stalin was brutal, but now he will be merciless. Stalin now wants to starve families and peoples who resist his policies. Stalin blocks food supplies to Ukraine, and farms are ruined. Millions start to die from the massive famine. Families are getting increasingly desperate. The other parts of the Soviet Union are completely unaware of what is happening in Ukraine. The Ukrainians are very horrified. Families are torn apart. There is simply no food. Despite all these casualties, Stalin continues his merciless policies. This shows that anyone who messes with Stalin will get a brutal consequence. At one point, Ukrainians get so used to this that corpses lying on the pavements becomes a normal thing. The struggle is unimaginable. Ukrainians are oblivious to the fact that their famine was known and even wanted by Stalin. A train full of corpses arrives in Kiev, the capital city of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. In Moscow, Stalin wants to eliminate the Ukrainians who still protest against his policies. He prohibits hungry villagers from leaving their villages to get to the big cities. Millions of children, too, face their deaths in this horrible Ukrainian famine. It is one of the greatest massacres of the century. A French delegate arrives to Ukraine, invited by the Soviet government. He is shown Ukraine, sees rich crops. He is impressed with what he sees. He even says that he does not believe the rumors about Ukraine being ravaged by famine. But unfortunately for him, he is fooled by propaganda. The streets were cleaned prior to his arrival, and all the workers were extras. Food was brought in only for this visit. Stalin's regime is full of lies. Meanwhile, several concentration camps across the Soviet Union are opened. The ones sent to these camps work day and night to build the Stalin Canal from the White to the Baltic Sea. The conditions here are extremely harsh. Those who refuse to work are executed on sight by brutal enforcers. Whilst all this happens, the Soviet citizens are completely unaware of the situation. Many consider the Soviet Union a good state. In 1938, the Great Purges of Stalin reached their peak. Thousands of high officials are sentenced to death. The purges also expand to all families in the Soviet Union. The most common punishment was a death sentence, confiscation of all assets, and a deportation for the defendant's family. Even friends, neighbors and family denounce each other. Even children denounce their own parents for resisting Stalin's policies. The denounced ones will all die. This document has set quotas for executions, deportations, and total. There are no names in this document. It is up to the party to find a way to fill up these quotas. For example, Azerbaijan's Republic's part has set a quota for 1,500 executions. Now, the party must find this amount of people to execute for fabricated reasons.
Name Kilarov. Heritage, a wooden house, 8 square meters. A cow, 4 sheep, 2 pigs. Indictment. Kilarov is malicious against Soviet power. He said Stalin killed a lot of people, but we cannot talk about it. Otherwise, we will be sent to a camp for 25 years. Verdict. Shoot Kilarov and confiscate all of his property.
The Soviet police chief is said to be the Great Terror. It is said that he gets about 1,000 people killed per day. In the Soviet Union, life continues as if nothing had ever happened. They play the Swan Lake Ballet. It is Stalin's favorite. Each day after it, he would go back to the Kremlin and sign execution orders, sometimes even adding feedback. Then the terror turns against the police chief himself. He is accused of treason. He is tortured and executed, and even erased from official photos. In 1938, Stalin had now eliminated all of his enemies. He replaced them with a new generation of people. These are the ones he wanted, who are loyal to him. The terror's victims' flats are given to these people. Stalin does not realize that his new threat is the German Reich, having been led by Hitler for the last 5 years. Hitler had established a totalitarian dictatorship with himself as dictator. And he had concentration camps, but life was better there than in the Soviet Union. He had already annexed Austria and the Sudetenland. He dreamt of conquering the entirety of Europe, including the Soviet Union. Only now, Stalin realizes the threat. In August 1939, Stalin had attempted to negotiate with Britain and France, but they rejected the Soviet proposals. So, the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany make a non-aggression pact just a week before the Second World War begins. The two countries also divide Eastern Europe. First of September 1939, Hitler invades Poland. The National Socialist Army ravages through Poland quickly and occupies the country with the Soviet Union, which attacks from the east on 17th of September 1939. Britain and France have declared war on Germany, and the Second World War has begun. In 1940, Hitler easily occupies Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, Belgium, and France. Hitler now also comes to visit Paris. The world, including the Soviet Union, is shocked. Inside the Soviet Union, mass executions happen again. Hitler then prepares to invade the Soviet Union in an operation called Operation Barbarossa. The attack begins on 22nd of June, 1941. Stalin is angry and shocked. His army is not ready for a total war, and the entire Soviet Union goes near collapse. Stalin, however, manages to recover.
Товарищи красноармейцы и краснофлотцы, командиры и политработники, рабочие и работницы, колхозники и колхозницы, работники интеллигентного труда, братья и сестры в тылу наших врагов, временно подпавшие под иго немецких разбойников, наши славные партизаны и партизанки, разрушающие тылы наших врагов. От имени советского правительства и нашей большевистской партии приветствую и поздравляю вас с 24-й годовщиной Великой Октябрьской социалистической революции. Товарищи, в тяжелых условиях приходится праздновать сегодня 24-ю годовщину Октябрьской революции. Вероломные нападения немецких разбойников и навязанная нам война создали угрозу для нашей страны. Мы потеряли временно ряд областей. Враг очутился у ворот Ленинграда и Москвы. Враг рассчитывал на то, что после первого удара наша армия будет рассеяна. Наша страна будет поставлена на колени. Но враг здесь только просчитался. Несмотря на временный неуспех, наша армия и наш флот героически отбивают атаки врага на протяжении всего фронта, нанося ему тяжелый урон. А наша страна, вся наша страна, организовалась в единый боевой лагерь, чтобы вместе с нашей армией и нашим флотом осуществить разгром немецких захватчиков. Было дни, когда наша страна находилась в еще более тяжелом положении. Вспомните 1918 год, когда мы праздновали первую годовщину Октябрьской революции. 3/4 нашей страны находились тогда в руках иностранных интервентов. Украина, Кавказ, Средняя Азия, Урал, Сибирь, Дальний Восток были временно потеряны нами. У нас не было союзников, у нас не было Красной Армии. Мы ее только начали создавать. Не хватало хлеба, не хватало вооружения, не хватало обмундирования. 14 государств наседали тогда на нас. Но мы не унывали, не падали. В одной войне организовали под нами Красную армию и превратили нашу страну в военный лагерь. Дух великого Ленина вдохновлял нас тогда на войну против интервентов. И что же? Мы разбили интервентов, вернули все потерянные территории и добились победы. Теперь положение нашей страны куда лучше, чем 23 года назад. Наша страна во много раз богаче теперь. И промышленностью, и продовольствием, и сырьем, чем 23 года назад. У нас есть теперь союзник, гражданский вместе с нами единый фронт против немецких захватчиков. Мы имеем теперь сочувствие и поддержку всех народов Европы, подпавших под иго гитлеровской тирании. Мы имеем теперь замечательную армию, замечательный флот, вроде отстаивающий свободу и независимость нашей Родины. У нас нет серьезной нехватки ни в продовольствии, ни в вооружении, ни в обмундировании. Вся наша страна, все народы нашей страны подпирают нашу армию, наш флот, помогая им разбить захватнические орды немецких фашистов. Наши людские резервы не исчерпаны. Дух великого Ленина и его победоносное знамя вдохновляют нас теперь на Отечественную войну, так же, как 23 года назад. Разве можно сомневаться в том, что мы можем и должны победить немецких захватчиков? Враг не так силен, как и изображают некоторые перепуганные интеллигентики. Не так страшен черт, как его малюют. Кто может отрицать, что наша Красная Армия не раз обращала в паническое бегство хваленные немецкие войска? Если судить не по хвастливым заявлениям немецких пропагандистов, а по действительному положению Германии, нетрудно будет понять, что немецко-фашистские захватчики стоят перед катастрофой. В Германии теперь царит голод и обнищание. За 4 месяца войны Германия потеряла 4,5 миллиона солдат. Германия истекает кровью, ее людские резервы иссякают. Дух возмущения овладевает не только народом Европы, подпавшими под иго немецких захватчиков, но и самим германским народом, который не видит конца войны. Немецкие захватчики запрягают последние силы. Нет сомнений, что Германия не может выдержать долго такого напряжения. Еще несколько месяцев, еще полгода, может быть годик. И гитлеровская Германия должна лопнуть под тяжестью своих преступлений. Товарищи красноармейцы и краснофлотцы, командиры и политработники, партизаны и партизанки, на вас смотрит весь мир, как на силу способную уничтожить разбойничьи орды немецких захватчиков. На вас смотрят все народы Европы, временно подпавшие под иго немецкой тирании, как на своих освободителей. Великая освободительная миссия выпала на вашу долю. Будьте же достойны этой миссии. Вы ведете войну освободительную, справедливую. Пусть в этой войне вдохновляет вас мужественный образ наших великих предков. Александра Невского, Дмитрия Донского, Кузьмы Минина, Дмитрия Пожарского, Александра Суворова, Михаила Кутузова. Пусть осенит вас непобедимое знамя великого Ленина. За полный разгром немецких захватчиков, смерть немецким оккупантам. Да здравствует наша славная Родина, ее свобода, ее независимость. Под знаменем Ленина вперед к победе!
Over by the next years, the war continues to rage. The German success stops at 1943 when they lose the Battle of Stalingrad. From that point, the Germans are constantly pushed back towards Berlin. With Germany becoming weaker, the German propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels decides to give a speech at the Berlin Sport Palace.
Engländer behaupten, das deutsche Volk wehrt sich gegen die totalen Kriegsmaßnahmen der Regierung. Er will nicht den totalen Krieg, sagen die Engländer, sondern die Kapitulation. Wollt ihr den totalen Krieg? Wollt ihr ihn, wenn nötig, totaler und radikaler, als wir ihn uns heute überhaupt erst vorstellen können? Seid ihr bereit, mit dem Führer als Phalanx der Heimat hinter der kämpfenden Wehrmacht stehen, diesen Kampf mit wilder Entschlossenheit und unbeirrt durch alle Schicksalsprüfungen fortzusetzen, bis der Sieg in unseren Händen ist? Seid ihr entschlossen, dem Führer in der Erkämpfung des Sieges durch dick und dünn und unter Aufnahme auch der schwersten persönlichen Belastungen zu folgen? Von jetzt ab die Parole: Nun, Volk, steh auf und Sturm bricht los!
The fighting continues until 1945, when Germany falls. Soviet soldiers then raped a million German women across Germany. Adolf Hitler commits suicide on the 30th of April 1945. The Soviet Union occupies a huge chunk of Eastern Europe and would retain the Eastern Bloc until the 1990s. For the next 8 years, Stalin continues to dominate the Soviet Union with his familiar policies that in total kill over 20 million people. Then in March 1953, Stalin dies. The Soviet Union mourns, fooled by propaganda. Stalin will forever be remembered as one of the most evil dictators of all time.